In this you can go, you can put, for example, after one is the correct answer, and for this particular answer I will give 1 point and I will test that and then I will get out.
அவளோ தர எடுத்துட்டு போ வெயிட் கம்மி பண்ணுங்க
You as a designer can see that this particular answer is correct. The person who will respond will not be, obviously will not be seeing in particular at the time of this. And once they submit the option, obviously it will be stored there and in the case.
Good evening to all. I greet you from the Innovation Club, IGNOU Regional Center, Nagpur, for the program Sustainable Innovation. And the guest speaker for this occasion is Dr. Piyush R. Thakre. Dr. Thakre is a scientist, innovator, educator, and a technical leader in the areas of materials science and engineering. He has done his PhD in material science and engineering and MS in the field of mechanical engineering, BE in the field of mechanical engineering. And he is also alumni of IGNOU. He has done 2 management courses, PGDIBO and DIM. He has expertise in product design, development, experimental mechanics, capability build, and sustainability science. He has authored and co-authored 20+ international journal publications with 1,000+ citations, 30+ Dow internal publications, 30+ conference talks, 15+ invited lectures, and 10+ patent applications. He is passionate about innovation and likes to build cross-functional teams, striving for scientific, engineering, and operational excellence. He is currently working as application development leader, scientist at Dow and responsible for leading hygiene, sustainability, and digitalization platforms. In the past, he has led projects in the area of solar singles, water filtration, packaging innovations, PPEs, biomaterials, nanomaterials, multifunctional materials, and composites. Piyush is sustainably involved in promoting inclusion and diversity, sustainability, and innovations through serving on several organizations and committees. Outside of work, Piyush enjoys spending time with his family and friends, cooking, swimming, playing tennis, traveling, and exploring from the new places. Sir, I welcome you on behalf of IGNOU Regional Center in Innovation Club. And I request Dr. P. Sivaswarup, sir, the Regional Director of IGNOU Regional Center, to welcome our guest with a floral.
He accepted our invitation.
Now, I would like to request Dr. P. Sivaswarup sir to say something about the objectives of today's program and say about some innovation club that has already been established at Regional Center Nagpur and regarding today's guest talk, the theme of this talk. Sir, please.
Good evening, friends. Good evening to all who are present here in this hall and who are watching the program through YouTube and Zoom. So at the outset, I welcome Dr. Piyush Thakre for accepting our invitation to be part of our Innovation Club. I welcome Dr. Shukla sir, Dr. Nagaraj and Dr. Thakre sir, and my colleagues, Dr. Siddiqui and Dr. Haldar. So this talk we are organizing as part of the Regional Center Innovation Club. IGNO has an innovation club at national level, and this is a Regional Center Innovation Club. We keep organizing talks on various aspects, mostly related to IGNO operations. But when we come across that Piyush, and because his father, Dr. R.P. Thakre, was very long associated with IGNO. He was one of the pillars for our regional center at Nagpur. So we requested him. And more than that, his concept of sustainable innovation is very attractive. So I said that why don't you spare some time to address our innovation club so that many can listen to his ideas and his working. And even though despite his very busy schedule, he is addressing the students of IIM Nagpur and VNIT and then now addressing NIRI also, scientists. So thank you very much for accepting our invitation. At this moment, I want to share that IGNO is also having said this innovation club. Today's concept is very innovative itself and interdisciplinary. It is a sustainable innovation. Very interesting topic. IGNO is also having several programs. I am equally happy to share that Piyush is also IGNO student of sustainable science. We have a PG diploma in sustainable science. And earlier also he did a PG diploma. He will share his experience as IGNO student also, because our students will be interested how a person residing in US also doing IGNO courses. So we have several courses. We have Dr. Siddiqui with us and Dr. Haldar, who are looking after our various programs. We have MSc Environment, MA Environment and Occupational Health, MSc Renewable Energy and Environment. All these are related to sustainability. We have PG Diploma in Environment Sustainable Development, and then PG Diploma in Sustainable Science, which Piyush is also a student. And recently we started Climate Change, Certificate Environment Studies, Organic Farming, Water Harvesting Management, and Healthcare Waste Management, Energy and Technology Management. And recently we started Smart City Development and Management also. And Solid Waste Management and also Solid Waste Treatment Techniques also. There are several courses which contribute towards the sustainability. We see so many research innovations. Being myself from chemistry, many people say that chemical industries will go for pollution and environment degradation. So there we need a talk like this, where innovations should also have inherent sustainability also. So let us listen to Piyush for his expert talk. After his talk is over, there will be a question answer session also. People can interact. So I request Piyush to start this.
Thank you very much, sir, for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here. Back here, I would say. I have been a student of IGNO. This is my third program actually with IGNO. First program I started. Actually, we want to mute so that there will be not cross communication. And first of all, sorry for starting a little bit late. We had some technical glitches, so that's why we are starting late. But as I was saying, it's good to be back. The very first program I started with IGNO was just immediately after my bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering. At that time, I had started the management program when I was working in Pune in Infosys at that time. But just after 1 year, I had to leave the program by taking diploma in management, since I was going to US for doing my master's in mechanical engineering. And after that, I finished my PhD and everything. And after 10 years or so, I got the bug again to do something else. So I took again joined the program in post-graduation diploma in international business management. So that is the one thing I had finished. It has been again almost 8 years finishing that program. So I joined the post-graduation diploma in sustainability science, because I have been working in the sustainability area for the last 5-6 years quite heavily. And I wanted to broaden my horizons learning. So I see Professor Sharat Chandra Kuman is there. He has been a great advisor for us, all the PGDSS students. So thank you, sir, for your guidance also in this program. And I would just want to say that this is a really good program, and I'm so glad to talk to you guys today about one of these topics, sustainable innovation, which I have presented at 3-4 places throughout the world. Right now, 2-3 places in US, one place in IIM Nagpur as well. So let me share my screen and then we'll get started. Can you enable the participant screen sharing? It says disabled. So I hope you guys are able to see my screen. So let me start by giving you a little bit of a background on my education, what I have done in the past. So I'm an engineering graduate. Did my bachelor's of engineering in year 2000 from Nagpur University. Then I worked as a software engineer. Then finished my master's and PhD from Texas A&M University. My PhD is in aerospace engineering, specializing in the material science. I also did a postdoc at University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign, worked on a multi-university research initiative. We call it a MURI project, which was a participation of UIUC, Air Force Research Lab, Stanford, University of Michigan. So that has been my educational background. Other than, as I mentioned about the IGNO background also at the start of my talk, and the different areas, material science areas that I have been involved in the past 20 years of my education after my bachelor's has been in nanomaterials area and advanced composites area. I worked for almost 10 years working on some of the NASA projects and Air Force research projects. I worked on the smart materials and multifunctional materials. And then when I joined Dow almost 10 years ago, I worked in several different areas. So application of different materials in water filtration application, in solar application, in plastics packaging application. And right now I'm heavily involved in healthcare, medical applications of polymers, and also the sustainability science aspect of the polymers. So today I wanted to share my thoughts with you guys about the innovation as such, and also very specifically about the sustainable innovation. So let us start with the definition of innovation as given in the Merriam-Webster dictionary. So it just says basically what innovation means is a new idea, a method, or a device, or the introduction of something new, right? And many times people overlap the meaning of innovation and invention. So the way I understand the invention and innovation is something, just an idea. And when you convert that idea into a product, or when you implement that idea into a product, then it becomes an innovation. So that is just my own definition of how do we go from invention to innovation. And just to give you an example, you might have heard about Leonardo da Vinci. He was a very famous person from Italy in 14th century, in the 15th century, and he was thinking way ahead of his time. He was an artist. He was a painter, he was a scientist, he was a sculptor, he was a philosopher. So he wore many hats, right? At that time, we did not have specialization as mechanical engineer or aerospace engineer or medical scientist, right? So his background was quite wide, and he used to think quite seen from his notebook, which had pictures of all the ideas that he had thought about 500 years ago, right? About the water lifting devices, of the design of a helicopter, of the chariot that you see on the left images, of the catapult system, of the military machine with multiple crossbows. All these designs he had made. The reason I am sharing this example is this is where the innovation definition I want to discuss with you. Some of these ideas he was able to convert and implement into innovation, into products, and they were able to use it 500 years ago. But not all of the ideas were fruitified at that time. They did not come to be implemented at that time. So they remain as an invention or just as an idea. And it took many more years, many more centuries for it to become innovation at that time. So that is one example I wanted to share in terms of just to differentiate between the innovation and the idea generation or the invention aspect. One question that we would ask is, why do we need innovation? We are talking about innovation, so let's start with that. So what are the different drivers for innovation? So if you think about it, in the last century or century and a half, when was the time when the most of the innovations came into the place? So if you think about World War I, World War II timeline, tremendous amount of innovation happened during those world wars. So war is a big actually driver for innovation at that time, because you are trying to over innovate, you are trying to innovate over your enemies at that time. So that is one way. Another way is the new technology, right? So now everything is a digital world. We have all the chip technology, microchip technology, the processing power has improved, the cloud power has improved, artificial intelligence is coming. So that is all leading to innovation and much faster innovation in today's time. Other than that, then basically, if you are competing with your another company, so you want to introduce a better product into the market, you want to improve the performance of the product, you want to reduce the cost. All those things are kind of the drivers for the innovation. And sometimes the consumer themselves are demanding for the innovation. Now let's think from the sustainability perspective. You guys have heard about the Green Deal. A lot of regulations are coming in Europe. Regulations are already starting to come in US. Just a few weeks ago, California actually came up with a new regulation related to, again, sustainability sciences. And again, India and many countries in Asia will also have regulations, right? So when the new regulations are coming, they are also creating this driver for innovation. That's why you need to come up with new ideas, new products, new concepts, which are more sustainable. So these are all the drivers for innovation. Then how do we define the sustainable innovation? The innovation that can impact the socio-economic and environmental conditions will be defined as the sustainable innovation. So whenever you are thinking about an idea or a concept, if that particular idea has three major criteria, that it addresses the social responsibility, it leads to economic success, and at the same time it is protecting the environment. When you have all these major criteria met, then you can call your innovation as a sustainable innovation. And one thing I forgot to mention, if you guys have questions, please feel free to unmute yourselves, ask your questions. If you want me to speak in another language, I will be able to speak in Hindi and or Marathi as well. So if you have questions, or if you want me to speak in Hindi or Marathi, I have never given this presentation in Hindi or Marathi, but I would be happy to do so in Hindi or Marathi. So please, if you have a request, send it to the chat, or please unmute yourself and mention that. So some of the examples I want to share about the sustainable innovation. One example is the LED bulbs. So most of us nowadays, we are using LED bulbs in our houses. And as you know, these are much more energy saving as compared to the fluorescent bulbs. And they save almost about 50% or even more energy if you are using those bulbs. They have a longer lifetime as well. So you have less wastage Also, there are ways to recycle these LED bulbs by removing certain components and recycling those components. So this is a very good example of a sustainable innovation, because all of us, we need lighting, but this is a very good example. Another example is vertical farming, and I am going to discuss a little bit more in detail as an example of what vertical farming is and how it is actually a very good example of sustainable innovation. And I think somebody is drawing on my slides there on the yellow marks or something. So maybe I'm not noticing that, but it's fine. Other examples are you have been hearing about plastics and the effects of plastics on the environment a lot, and people are talking about biodegradable plastics or even bioplastics, right? So I have a question mark in front of that, because not all biodegradable plastics or bioplastics can be considered as sustainable. All depends on the use of the plastic, how you are using it, how you are discarding it. All those things come into factor, right? So not necessarily like all, whenever you hear the word bio polymer or biodegradable polymer, it does not mean that it is a sustainable solution. Same thing with the solar energy, wind energy. People are talking about electrical cars, and we can have a very long discussion about those, whether they are sustainable, they are not sustainable. They definitely have aspects of sustainability, but you have to do a very good life cycle analysis to be really sure about what you are going to do. So it is not a question of emotions. There is a science. If you have a science supporting the concepts, sustainability concepts, then you can say that whether it's really a sustainable innovation, or basically
You
people are
just
trying
run
to
this company. I mean, we were looking at your
basically
CV and you were
it's a
thinking, hey,
marketing
should we
ploy
call you?
to sell you more stuff,
There's
calling
a
it more
very
sustainable
quick change
product,
for you.
right?
Yeah.
But these are certain examples of
Okay. So
now I
any
want to
reasons you
share
want to move
something, when how you are
fast?
thinking about the innovation, sustainable innovation. And this is something I have learned
Okay.
in my
So what is the
course in
location?
PGDSS from Professor Kuman and
You
other
said Vaikala. Okay,
teachers
yeah. So we
who
saw
have
that
taught me
actually.
about
That
this
was
in
another
our
reason.
course. It's about the
Very close to
Sustainable
office.
Development Goals, the
Okay.
SDGs,
So this is Andheri.
which were
Andheri is
defined
not
by the
very far.
UN. So
If you
there are
want to
these
go,
seven
it's opposite
Can other
direction.
people please
development
stop
goals.
talking?
And when you are thinking about sustainable innovation, this could be a very good starting
Acha.
point about which idea, whatever idea you are thinking, which
Okay, so
exactly
this
SDG 3
the
is it
earlier
going to affect?
organization next
So are you going to go
next
with SDG 1 of
next
no
time.
poverty,
Okay. Thank you.
SDG 2 of no
That
hunger,
was in
or
Malay.
another
That's
one
so
like
close to
SDG
you.
7
And then
of
think
renewable
Fire is also
energy?
close
Can
by.
Or
other
do you want to
people
develop
please
ideas
stop
that
talking,
deals with
having
the
I think
some
climate
education
change,
also
like
has
the
been
discussion?
here.
SDG 13? Or if you are looking at the
PUC,
pollution, the
please,
marine
PUC,
pollution,
Dr. Pius,
life
Dr.
below
Pius,
water, that is the SDG
pardon,
40.
Dr. Pius,
So whatever ideas you
Dr.
have,
Pius.
you can always try to think about how it is impacting the sustainability development goals as defined by the UN. And when you are thinking about your ideas, as I said, there are three aspects of the sustainable innovation. One is the social aspect, economic aspect, and the environmental aspect. And it is not easy to manage all these three aspects. It's a very critical balance, because something that is good for the society, that actually has sorry. So maybe I got muted. So as I was saying, something which is very good for the society might not be very economical. We might be losing jobs, we might be closing the companies. So that might not be good for the economy. And something which is very good for the economy might not be very good for the environment. It might be creating environmental hazards, right? So whenever you are thinking about sustainable innovation, you have to manage this. And as I have shown here through this graphic, this is kind of a gear system. Whenever you are turning one gear, the other two gears should also start turning. So it's a very critical balance when you are thinking about it, a sustainable innovation. So it's not easy. And we are going to think that from the perspective of an example I would like to share. So this is an example. Let's say we want to address the SDG 2 about no hunger, right? So when you are thinking about no hunger, there are a couple of ways to handle this issue. One is you increase the crop yield. But when you are trying to increase the crop yield to satisfy the no hunger SDG, that means you are increasing the demand for water. You are also going to increase the use of chemical fertilizers. that is going to create some of the health hazards, and also these chemical fertilizers can seep into the water and the land, and it could create the water and land pollution. So your intention is good that you want to increase the crop yield, but then there are also the side effects of those intentions. This is one way you can try to target the no hunger, right? Another way is to prevent the full food spoilage. What do I mean by that? So you guys might be knowing that almost 1/3 of the food that we produce globally gets wasted every year. Can you imagine? 1/3 of the food gets wasted. We are producing it. We are putting all the efforts, energy, water, everything after using it, after we have the food in our hands, 1/3 of the food is getting wasted. So another way to handle the no hunger situation is, can you prevent that from happening, the food wastage? And the way to do that is, one is refrigeration. But as you know, the ill effect of refrigeration is the ozone depletion. Another thing is plastic packaging. Now, recently we have banned on the plastic packaging, some of the disposable items, but all the packaging, food packaging is disposable packaging again. You can save the food, you can extend the life of the food storage by plastic packaging, but then there are another ill effects if you don't dispose the plastic properly. If you dispose the plastic properly, then you might be able to recycle, reuse those things. But again, there are ill effects of that. When these plastics seep into the ocean, into the land, you again cause the water and land pollution. There are ill effects, the health hazards related to the processed foods, because if you want the food to last longer, you have to process the food, and that might have certain effects on the health. So this is the example I wanted to give you, is that even though your intention is really good to address the no hunger situation, but at that same time, you have to think about the other SDGs. SDG 3, good health. Can you actually manage no hunger with respect to SDG 3 of handling the good health? Can you at the same time manage to have clean water and sanitation? Can you also do something to protect the life below water, the life on the land, and the responsible consumption? As I was saying about the plastic packaging, if you are using it, dispose it properly. That will actually prevent the plastic littering into the world, right? So these are all the SDGs. As this is the example that you are thinking about innovation into a particular area, trying to address one of the SDGs, but then you have to think about all the other SDGs. How is it going to impart that? So this is the thought process you have to use in terms of when you are thinking about the sustainable innovation. Now I want to give you an example, just continuing the example, right? So there is no one magic technology that can just magically make sure that your hunger disappears from this world. As you see, there are a lot of issues, a lot of problems when you develop one technology, it has a side effect of another technology. So what do you see here is a lot of latest technologies, different types of technologies that are actually handling to manage some of these SDGs, to manage some of these side effects. So one is water filtration technologies. There are so many advancements in the water filtration technologies. So think about, if you are increasing the use of the water, how can you reuse that water? Or if there is some chemicals that is getting seeped into the water, what are the methods you can filter those out, and then you are reusing the water. So this is a very responsible consumption of that water. So there is no problem in increasing the use of the water, as we are saying, but to use responsibly, use the water filtration technologies. There is saline water converters. So if you don't have water, you can always convert the ocean water into the fresh water. It is expensive, but there are those technologies available. In terms of chemical fertilizers, we can start increasing the use of biodegradable fertilizers. So that is another option to prevent the ill effect of chemical fertilizers. People are using drip farming to reduce the use of water. Just use very responsibly the water. Hydroponics is another example. Vertical farming is another example. So these are different types of technologies or innovations that are addressing some of the issues that I discussed on the first slide. Another one, we were talking about the food spoilage or food wastage, right? So there are different technologies coming up, which is the waste collection technologies. Collection streams are getting installed. So the wet waste, the plastic waste, the glass waste, different type of waste collection. If you separate the waste, if you responsibly dispose it off, there are technologies to collect it and recycle those. There are new recycling facilities coming up. Biodegradable plastics are coming up. Also, there are synthetic meat production coming up. lot of ocean cleaning technologies are coming up. And the most important thing is the digital education. You might not think as a technology, but just imagine you can actually increase the reach of this, all this information, all these technologies, as we are doing today through this online platform, through Zoom, through YouTube. You can reach to the masses in the villages. People have access to internet in the villages now, and they can learn about all these technologies. So somebody is uh, putting up things on the slides.
Think I request R.R. Dasgupta, please don't do that. Sir, please stop that. No?
No worries, no worries. So think about the digital education. There is a digital education technology. You can actually share your knowledge, share these technologies with people in the villages. So people did not have to be very educated. They do not have to have a PhD. Share your knowledge with people across the world. You are not restricted today because of the digital education, right? So use that. That is a part. That is also a sustainable innovation. Reach to as many people as possible. Now, as I promised you, I think let me actually see if I can remove. Maybe sir, maybe you might be able to remove. No, not that one. Just annotate. There's the option from there. No, I'm not sure. I think it's fine. It's fine. So that's why I was requesting not to write on the slides, because it takes away from the message of the next slide.
Yes.
So I want to give you this example about reinventing the farming, the vertical farming that I was talking about. So there is this company that came up. It's an agricultural technology startup company in San Francisco. The name of the company is Plenty, and they are developing this vertical farming of 2 acres. And whatever production they can get from this 2-acre vertical farm is equivalent to actually 720 acres of flat farms. So they are using, as I said, you need to use multiple technologies to address this issue. As I said, if you want to address the issue of no hunger, this is one of the way of trying to do that in the innovation, sustainable innovation in the farming side. So what they are using, as you can see on the right side here, right walls, there are basically the LED lights, the UV lights. They are all over the walls around this indoor facility, and they give you 24/7 sunlight, for example, right? So you are not restricted to just the daylight. And then they are using the drones and robots for the placement of the hanging racks. As you can see, there is a small person there. There is a person who's standing near the vertical farm, but as you can see, it's a really tall farm, and to reach that level, you need drones and robots for the placement and removal of the hanging racks. So you can use the advanced robotic technology for that. Then you can use artificial intelligence to manage all the variables and to optimize the variables. For example, the heat, the light, the water, and you can continuously optimize this depending on the growth of the plants, right? So this is something you can develop some modules, artificial intelligence modules, to be able to do that. And they are trying to do that as well. Another thing is the water lost by transpiration is recaptured and reused. So this is, again, they are able to use just half of the water that will be used in the normal circumstances. Another advantage is the land, right? So if you can have such a facility very close to the city, close to the actual market, for a big city like San Francisco, if you just have a 2-acre land close to the San Francisco, then there is a minimal transportation. So you also take the carbon footprint away from the little less transportation because of that. Second thing is the indoor environment is independent of the climate uncertainty. So if there is a monsoon, no monsoon, there is any other environmental effect. Since this is an indoor facility, you can actually control your climate, and you can get up to 400 times greater yield per acre. So this is one example where you are addressing the sustainability development goal. You are trying to improve the farming, and you are using multiple technologies to prevent the side effects of all the technologies. And this is a very good example of a sustainable innovation. So with that, this is basically my last slide. And I have questions, and if you have any questions about like how do we innovate and all those things, I can discuss. I have like few more slides later on, but I want to stop here and see if there are any questions in the audience.
You can raise your hand so that you will be unmuted. You can ask the question. You can also ask.
Yes, sir.
Viability of vertical farming in India. Because I have seen many places. I'm not involved too much. Our farmers are not that big.
No,
So how it will be sustainable in India under present situation?
absolutely, sir. That is a very good question. So this is not something which will not be every farmer will be able to use, but it will be something you can think about commercial farming, for example. So big companies like Reliance or some other companies, they might be able to introduce this kind of a concept which can satisfy the demand, growing demand of the cities. So very close to the cities. As I want to say, like just one solution is never going to solve the whole world's problem, right? You have to just take like a small step by step, right? You might not be able to use the artificial intelligence models at this time, but I want to, at the same time, I want to say India is also very technologically advanced. So we are doing very good work in the robotics area. We are doing very good work in the artificial intelligence area, machine learning area. So all those technologies, it's a challenge for the younger generation, for the younger entrepreneurs to come up with that. I have a friend actually who left a job in US. He came to India, and he's actually doing a farming right now. So there are people, he's not doing a vertical farming, he's just doing a normal farming, but he's actually introducing some of the technologies in the farming. So it is not unheard of. A lot of people are actually entering the farming. They realize a different lifestyle change. They like the lifestyle change. They want to stay close to the farm. They want to stay away from the cities. So it is, we have to also open up our minds. It's not just going to be the traditional farmers. It's also going to be the educated people like us who can go into this farming. They can start small, but this is a way to start that. Even in India, I think this is quite feasible. And you don't have to just shoot for introducing all the technologies at once. You can start simple. We have the LED technology, UV lights. You start the indoor environment with that, with minimum expenditure. So there are ways to be able to do that. So I think there is a possibility to start, especially close to the big cities.
Piyush, Manita wants to ask the question.
Yes, sir. You might have to unmute her.
Am I audible, sir?
Manita, you can ask your question.
Am I audible now?
Please, you are unmuted.
Oh, you got muted again.
You can switch on your video also.
All right, sorry. Now I think you might be able to hear me. We had some audio issues here, so I was not able to hear your question. Manita, if you can write in the chat, or if you want to unmute yourself, if you can unmute Manita, she might be able to ask to unmute. Yeah, I have a mic on this one. So, you are already muted, sir. So Manita, you are unmuted from our side. You have to unmute from your side. Your hand is on, I know. You have to unmute yourself and ask your question, or please feel free to write your question. Okay. All right, Manita.
Yes, am I audible now, sir?
We have to become equal to 720 only, is it not practiced widely?
That is a different question. I
Am
can't
I
hear
audible?
you, Manita.
Am I audible
Okay.
now, sir?
Manita, do you want to write your question in the chat? I will try to answer that. And until then,
Sir,
I will
am
try
I
to answer
audible
the
now?
previous question by Devashish Kunar. When he says it too. I think we are having some problem here. And, I have questions and you want to have any questions about that, about the innovation and all the ones that you want like but I want to stop here in questions. You can write your app so that you can please write down the questions on the chat. I think we are having some technical difficulties here. So I will answer the question. I will answer the question from Deva. Oh, that's why we're getting a voice from here. YouTube. Got it. Okay. All right. I will have to be on reduce sound I will answer questions through chat. Since we are having some audio problems. You are able to hear me. I was okay. Now you can hear me. How can we make it possible to use optimum use of unused land in urban areas and surrounding places for agriculture? And different kind of farms cause most of the fertile land is found to be unused. That's a very good question, Vandita. And this is where I think also we have a vertical farming kits available. Yes, smaller kits are available. I have seen that in Pune actually. One of the person was starting to do that, the vertical farming on a very small level in the back back of his house. They were starting to do it. One thing I also want to mention is that oh, you are from Pune, Mr. Das Gupta. So one more thing I want to say is that, you know, every technology also has its limitation. So when you think about the vertical farming, you are not going to be able to produce everything and anything that you want. It has started, what I have seen being started right now is like the leafy vegetables type of products that are coming up in the vertical farming. So that you can do right now, but slowly you will have to grow it into all different types of vegetable farmings or fruits and everything else, right? So you will not be able to apply it to all types of farming. So that is something, there will be restrictions. So it is not going to completely replace the flat farming. It is only thing is like some of the produce that you need, you might be able to get it from vertical farming, and for others, you will have to still depend on the flat field farming. And that is true, like in urban areas, especially, the lands are quite expensive. So that's where I think you might be able to, it will be very good to be able to do this vertical type of a farming. And I don't see more questions here. Feel free to ask more questions through the chat here. I am available. Feel free to reach out later also if you have any questions. I would be happy. I'm your fellow IGNO student, so I'm also on the WhatsApp for the PGDSS group. You can send questions there. If some of the fellow students are there, I would be really happy to engage in conversation. And it's all about conversation. Whenever we are talking about innovation or sustainable innovation, it is never that a single person comes up with the idea and implements it and he becomes very successful. It's always a team effort. You have to discuss your ideas with a lot of people. You need a lot of people to make it successful. One is a technologist person, another might be a salesperson, marketing person. You need a lot of people involved, a lot of hands involved to make anything really successful into the market, to make it, to implement the idea into the industry. So keep talking to your fellow students, keep talking to your fellow colleagues, and develop the ideas. And entrepreneurship is the future. Try to think about that idea. Start small. Don't get discouraged. And I would say that is how the transformation is going to come. The sustainable transformation is going to come, and that's how we are going to address the sustainability issues that we are facing in the world today and try to create a better future for our kids. With that, I would like to say thank you very much to Dr. Siv Savadu and all of my teachers. Yeah, I think the questions are coming right now. Shipping containers and warehouses. Yeah, so they are using a vertical technology. What you are trying to say, Saurabh Mishra, is if I understand your question correctly, is like people are also trying to use the vertical farming by using the shipping containers, which are out of the use now. So it is they are finding a new usage for the shipping containers. If you can find that space that can be used as a vertical farm, and also the warehouses, you are absolutely right. So it does not have to be just the farm. So it's just whichever space you can find that can be done. So really good comments here. River farming in Bangladesh, yeah, that is also a very good technology. So just think about it. I'm so glad that you guys are starting to think about all of those things. You know about these things. And one example that I gave is that it's never going to be one single solution to solve the sustainability problem. It's going to be a different technologies, different solutions you bring together, and then you apply, and only then you can call it an innovation. Otherwise, it will just stay in the idea phase. But with that, thank you so much for your attention today, and I really enjoyed talking to everybody, and thank you so much, sir, Sri Swarup sir, for inviting me to give a talk here. Thank you so much.
Great pleasure. Now I request Dr. Siddiqui to propose a formal vote of.
So very good evening to all of you. I'm Dr. Siddiqui from Institute of Science. I'm working as a coordinator of IGNOU at my regional center, that is Institute of Science, and also a member of Innovation Club of the IGNOU Regional Center. It's my great honor and privilege to propose a vote of thanks in this program. On behalf of IGNOU and Innovation Club, I am thankful to Dr. Piyush Thakre, our expert speaker, no doubt a student of IGNOU, who has spared his precious time despite his busy schedule for doing this program. I'm really thankful from the depth of my heart, who has given a very good explanation about the innovation, the difference between the innovation and the invention, and many more concepts related to the topic. Similarly, I'm thankful to our senior citizens, as well as some of them are the IGNOU students, Dr. P.T. Shukla sir, Dr. R.P. Thakre sir, Dr. Nagaraj sir, for being here and who are always here to support the IGNOU activities at this regional center. I am thankful to Dr. Shiv Swarup sir, Regional Director, for organizing such a type of a program, for getting much knowledge about the innovation and sustainable innovation. I am thankful to Dr. Haldar sir, as well as Dr. Rajgure sir, for attending this program. Thank you so much, sir. And lastly, I'm thankful to all the audience who has participated in this program. Thank you so much. Thank you.